1FM 91.3, Good Times, Greatest Hits, the Black Eyed Peas, and let's get it started, which is right about now, because joining us here on the Morning Drive, we've got Rex from Wine to Share. Hello, Rex.
Good morning.
And Etienne, who came down all the way from South Africa. Etienne is from Orpheus and The Raven. Welcome, Etienne.
Good morning. Thank you very much for having us.
Oh, thank you for coming in, guys. Always good to talk about wine, especially on a Monday like today, because I had a completely liquid weekend, so I'll just keep the weekend going.
Continue the streak. Why don't you?
Keep it going.
And also because it's FD's birthday today, you know, so he has every reason to drink.
Absolutely.
Well, first things first, can you tell us about your journey with wine? How did you first fall in love with wine, and what brought you into the world of winemaking and, you know, wine importing for Rex? Maybe start, Etienne?
Kerry, it's quite an interesting story. So I grew up on the east coast of South Africa, which is not a wine-producing region. And if you told me in my grade 12 year that at 50 years old I would be a winemaker and a wine brand owner, I would have told you, I don't know what you've been smoking. But then I went to Stellenbosch University, which is in the heart of the winelands,
country,
to go and study engineering, chemical engineering, for that matter. And probably if I studied anywhere else in South Africa, I would have been an engineer these days, and would have been none the wiser. But Stellenbosch really opened my eyes and opened my palate and to the world of wine. And after 2 years of studying engineering, I started seeing the combination of artistry and also the processes on the other side of winemaking really fits my personality. And then I knew, you know, even if I finish this engineering degree, winemaking is where I'm going to end up. So so that's where my interest started.
There's a no-brainer. Engineering or wine?
Yeah, absolutely.
What about you, Rex? Can you tell us a bit more about this, you know, journey into the business?
Yeah, sure. About a couple of years ago, I mean, maybe a bit of background, Etienne and I went to same school together, primary and high school, so I know him for a very long time. Yeah. And I caught up with him in Cape Town, went to do a bit of a wine tour at that time. And just knowing he just started his wine company, he gave me a few bottles of his Pinotage because I really liked the more bolder wines. I fell in love with it, and I told him that time, Etienne, I will see how to bring your wine to Singapore. And this all started from that point on.
Wow.
And, you know, wine to share.
Wine to share, exactly.
And that's where you can find all South African wine.
Yes.
Right?
But Etienne, how did the whole Orpheus and Raven come about?
So when I started my winemaking career, I made wine for commercial wineries. And what typically happens there, you are an employee, you have certain styles of wine that you make, but it's a fantastic way to really learn your skill, build up your connections over the years, and really prepare you, if you are that way inclined, of going into your own entrepreneurial business. Now, my business partner and I, Brendan, we started our Orpheus and The Raven. We started it about 9 years ago. And the concept was that we create a brand with alter egos where we can hide behind. You see, it's almost like said I love that Metallica shirt. I'm a big Iron Maiden fan as well, you know, and they hide behind Eddie, the mascot. You know,
right.
So it's kind of the same concept.
Yeah.
So we two middle-aged bald guys, you know, so we're not that cool, but our brand is cool.
I love that. Okay, we're going to chat a bit more with Etienne and Rex on Facebook, so join us there.
The Morning Drive.
Okay, so Orpheus and Raven, obviously, it is your alter ego, right?
Yes.
Now, we talk about South African wines. I mean, why? Why should anybody be drinking South African wines? What sets it apart from any other wine from across the globe?
Rex, you want me to answer that one?
Go for it.
I think from just from an innovation point of view, South Africa has really come to the party. There's a 350-year heritage of winemaking in South Africa.
You're kidding?
Yeah, it's a very long tradition,
Wow.
over 350 years, and people don't necessarily realize that.
Yeah.
And it's only in the last 20 or 30 years that that South African wine has made a comeback to the international market. We in the Western Cape, we have such a wide diversity of soil types and climatic conditions that anything from Sauvignon Blancs that likes a really, really cool conditions up to Shiraz and Pinotage, which is the native South African variety, which does well in warmer areas as well. So the one thing that I'm trying to steer away from, South Africa has always been known for great value for money wine, which it still is.
Yes.
But if I look at our own brand, we play in the more aspirational market, in the ultra premium wine space, and that is the message that we want to try and get across, that South African wine can really play at the top tiers in the wine business.
I like that. Yeah.
Absolutely. Rex, so you import South African wines to Singapore. Globally, as Kerry mentioned, there are wines everywhere. What makes a wine Singapore ready? What do you look for in a wine that makes it Singapore ready, makes it Asian ready?
That's a tough question.
Yeah.
I think for me, is this firstly looking at which winery to work with, right? And as to Etienne's point here, who would like to explore the Asian market versus the traditional European market? Because here in Singapore, you can see the French and Italian, these are your most popular wines.
Yes.
But there's also your very traditional wines. So we want to come in and basically offer to the consumers here something very different. And especially from Africa, who would think, many people don't even know South Africa has wine, right? If you think of South Africa, you think of animals, and wildlife kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So it's that whole, creating that experience, the exposure of what South Africa has to offer. And to Etienne's point, some of the wineries even that we carry today, big brands like Spear and Bosch and Dahl, they've been in existence for over 300 years.
Yeah.
So they've been making wines for a very long time. So we look for the wineries which have got the heritage, like Spear, Bosch and Dahl, Bellingham. These are all big brand names, and Warwick and a few other ones. And also the new younger brands, but it's a bit more from a rebellious side. We like to be different from the norm. Want to be experimental, Orpheus and The Raven. Another one we have is called Blank Bottle. They don't want to follow the traditional norm of making wine. They want to experiment and provide something very different, unique. So we basically have both of these kind of wines on our portfolio to provide the consumers something a bit more traditional if they want to have something similar to the Bordeaux or Burgundy style. And for those who really want to have something new and different, then we have something very different, like the Orpheus and Raven and the Blanc Bottle kind of wineries.
So Etienne, how is your wine different? We're talking about being rebellious and being different. How are your wines
No, aside
different?
from, if you look at the Orpheus and Raven bottle, the
That's
label.
different already.
The label is just stunning.
It's
I know
stunning.
Brandon had something to do with that, right?
Absolutely. So Kerry, we're a unique partnership in the South African wine context between a winemaker, myself, and Brendan, who's a label designer. And what this has allowed us to do is, from a winemaking side, is to make the wines that I want to make. And for Brendan, who is a commercial designer and gets briefs every day from clients to draw what they want to have done.
Yeah.
But with Orpheus and The Raven, it allowed him to the total creative freedom to put on a bottle what he wants to see.
Yeah.
And that's why the labels are so unbelievably eye-catching. We are trying to break the norm here, where people... if you have to go and look on that bottle, you're going to battle to find our name and the variety and the vintage. But when you see the artwork, immediately you will know it's our wine. So that is, we're trying to reverse that thought process. And I don't think we appreciate how powerful a sense our visuals are. I mean,
Yes.
Right.
You know, it's like going into a fine dining restaurant when that meal comes and you've got all the little foams and the
Yes, yes.
jellies and it looks appealing. You're 70% there.
Yeah.
Why can't a bottle of wine do the same thing and have that same appeal from a visual point of view?
Yeah, because when you go buy a bottle of wine, you will definitely go towards a bottle that looks good, right?
Yeah, that's-
Yeah, visually stunning,
Yeah.
something that catches your eye. So that's half the battle won.
Yes. No,
Yeah.
as I say, a very powerful sense.
All right, so can I ask, how do the both of you work together to ensure that, you know, the wine's quality, messaging, appeal carries throughout, you know?
So just from my point of view, and Rex can add on to this, these days, quality in the bottle has become a non-negotiable. But what we try and do, I'm very cognizant of the fact that winemaking can become a very selfish and a very self-indulgent business. You know, where the winemaker makes the wine and, you know, and he puts it in the bottle and puts it out in the market and say to the people, this is what I do, drink it.
Take it or leave it, yeah.
I take a completely different point of view from that. You know, winemaking or wine, I regard as a social adhesive. You know, if you're at a party and no one is speaking to each other, and you know everybody is still sussing each other out, when that first cork pops and the wine starts to flow, it brings people together. And why not make wine that people love to drink? The same with the great musicians, making records that people love to hear. Make wine that people love to drink, and that's very much my winemaking motto.
It's interesting that you see wine as it's almost a conversational piece.
Yeah. So if I'm a complete stranger at a dinner table,
Yeah.
it's almost like when there's a doctor at the table, you know. You know, if you say you're a doctor, then everybody comes, oh my, you know,
my elbow, my wrist,
elbow,
yeah.
you know, and I did something to my foot over the weekend. It's the same with if you say you're a winemaker, then everybody just wants to talk. Oh, I drank this last week. So it is, it's very much it very much becomes like a conversational piece.
It does.
On that note, right, I just want to talk about the different wines that you have under the label, right? There is the Eternal 8, you know, there's the 42. Can you tell us a bit more, like the differences?
Okay, so on the red side, a lot of our wines are Pinotage based. So Pinotage, which is the native South African variety, which turns 100 years old this year. We actually having the centenary of Pinotage. Pinotage is a crossing between Pinot Noir, the prince of red wines, and Cinsault, Hermitage. It's also referred to. So it was a crossing that was made, and so we also do single varietals Pinot Noir and Cinsault. Our number 42, which has that iconic image on the bottle, is a blend of Pinotage, Pinot Noir, and Cinsault. And then the Eternal 8 that you referred to is the most recent addition to our range, which is a Bordeaux-style blend, but very much aimed at the aspirational wine drinker.
Okay, and you have the Chenin Blanc, which is a white.
Yes, yeah.
Right.
So Chenin, so that's an old bush vine, Chenin Blanc. It comes from 51-year-old vineyards in Durbanville in South Africa.
Wow.
Amazing stuff. Okay, we're going to go back on air right now and continue this conversation. The sounds of Natalie and Brulia with Torn on 1FM 91.3. It's the morning drive with the Flying Dutchman and Carrie Chong. And with us here today, Rex from Wine to Share. That's a local important distributor of South African wines. And we have Etienne, winemaker from Orpheus and The Raven.
Thank you so much for coming in, guys. Rex, Singapore today, are we a red wine or are we more a white wine culture?
Generally more red wine drinker. I think, if I'm not mistaken, around 70% of wines are normally red.
Okay.
And the rest is white.
Okay.
But we do see some trends that is moving more towards white and also a little bit to lower alcohol content, especially for the younger generation.
Oh, okay.
Really?
Yeah, because
Wow.
I really want to try your wines because I'm a big Pinot fan. I
You
love
will
my
love
Pinot.
that.
I
You will
love my
love it.
Pinot Noir, so I really want to try these wines.
For Etienne, do you make any adjustments to, during the winemaking process to, cater or adjust it for different palates or based on, your knowledge or what you love?
So I think the most important part for us to maintain a certain taste profile and enduring quality of the wine is we have long-term contracts with grape growers. So we make sure that our grapes come from a consistent source, that we can forecast that what the wine is going to taste like after 15 or 18 months worth of aging. And one of the most important parts for me in the winemaking process is just prior to bottling, when you've blended the wine together and you see it as a raw wine just before going to bottle, is how to polish that wine just before bottling, so that when you open that bottle, that it is it's like listening to a Beatles song or listening to an ABBA song. It has immediate appeal.
Okay. Listening to a Beatles song, I got to ask you, you walked in here with a guitar today. What's
Yes.
that all about?
He's quite the
man.
musician.
Yeah.
So we hear that, with every bottle, it's got a special, unique element to it. This, tell us more about that. Music and wine.
Okay, so one of the pillars of our brand story is music. So Orpheus and the Raven, that's my alter ego. Orpheus was, in Greek mythology, the demigod of music. It was the figure in Greek mythology that could seduce any living being with music. So I wouldn't say I'm that fine a musician, but I do play in bands. But I'm a musically obsessive person. I mean, I collect guitars, I collect amplifiers, I collect vinyl records.
Yeah.
I drink my coffee out of a Black Sabbath mug in the morning. I've got
You're the man.
Yes, and I've got Eddie Van Halen on my diary cover. So music is my.
Are we going to rock out today? Why don't you get your guitar and we'll get ready for some, Eddie Van Halen. All right.
This is Etienne Van Halen right here.
Yes. Etienne, winemaker and rock star.
Yeah, so just to the musical element, when you go to a winery's website, you go to the tasting notes section. So
Yes.
it's a little write-up about the wine. So we've taken that concept and we say we are going to do tasting notes. So we are not going to tell you what the wine tastes like. We are going to play you what the wine tastes like. So in wine tastings these days, I do sometimes a complete wine tasting where each wine is paired to a song.
Okay.
Okay, so shall we take a listen to what you have for us today?
So this one goes with our Eternal 8. It's all about relationships, and it's the song by Sting, one of my favorites, Fragile.
Thank you so much, Etienne. Etienne from Orpheus and The Raven. And if
Wow,
you
that was
want to...
something.
Yeah, amazing.
That was something.
If you want to check out the wines, from Orpheus and The Raven, you can find them at Wine to Share. Thank you so much, Rex, for, coming in as well. And Etienne, have fun at, Vin Expo this whole week.
Yeah, no, it's my second visit to Singapore. I'm really, really looking forward to it.
All right.
Just one real quick one.
Yeah.
Rex, if someone wants to buy your wines, give it a sell. Where do they go exactly?
winetoshare.com.
winetoshare.com.
Okay. Yep.
All right. Here on The Morning Drive, it's the Flying Dutchman and Carrie Chong.
Why start your day any other way? The Flying Dutchman and Carrie Chong on the